Hey, everybody, it is Gabriel Montalvo here. For those of you that are new here, I talk about all things spirituality and all things self development, growth, and healing. Sometimes these videos are in Spanish or in English, but today I want to talk to you guys about a very special topic that's very near and dear, and it's how do you become a man when you don't have any real healthy examples. This video is not about, not having men in our lives. It's about having male examples, right? But not having really any healthy male examples. And so, first, I want to tell you guys about the stories, right? It's something that happened to me. When I was about 13, 14, 15 years old, I really started getting involved in church, right? And naturally, as I grew up, I would see like videos of, fathers showing their kids how to shave, and then fathers, showing their kids how to shave and how to drive. And the reality is, I didn't have that. Not that I didn't have a father. I actually have two fathers. I have my biological father, which we're really in good terms, right? We talk almost every day or, every other week or whatever. And then I have my adopted father, but he was in the military, so he wasn't always able to really be there for a lot of those things, right? And then, all of these things, right? And so I remember, you know, when I started going to church, right, I went to this kind of old school Pentecostal church where, you wear a tie on Sundays and you wear dressy clothes. And, I realized that I didn't know how to tie a tie. My father had helped me tie a tie one time, right? And I think he might have did it himself and just gave me the knot and I put on the tie. And what I realized is that I looked around and I really didn't have anybody to really teach me how to shave. It's probably why I always have a beard now. I try to keep it lined up. But, and how, or, how to tie a tie or how to shave or, how to drive or all the things that male fathers teach their kids. I really didn't have a front row seat to that. I was always fed. I always had clothes. I always had all of this, but I didn't know how to do the practical things. And so, what do you do when you are a man and you're growing into a man, but yet you don't have healthy examples, or you might have examples, but they're not around, or they don't have the capacity to be able to really help you. You know what I mean? And so that's a very interesting spot to be in. And so I remember, like I was saying, let me get into the story. I remember that I was going to this church event and I didn't know how to tie a tie. And I couldn't ask my aunts, so the question then became, who could I ask to help me tie a tie? All my church friends, they were at home, right? And they weren't really, they're not able to be with me right before church if I'm at my house, right? Because they're getting ready at their house. And looking back on it, I used my intuition. I was like, okay, I don't have a father figure here or someone that can really teach me in this moment. What do I have? And I looked around and the only thing I had was my phone. And guess what I had? YouTube. So I'll never forget, I YouTube how to make a double Windsor knot. Well, I didn't say double Windsor. I just looked for ties that I liked and I liked the double Windsor knot. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just watch the video and hope that I learn. And the first time I did it didn't come out right, but I kept trying. And then the next time when I would go to church, I would ask my friends to help me improve how to tie a tie. And nowadays I can tie a tie with my eyes completely closed. You know what I mean? But I took that moment not to get angry or sad that I didn't have a father figure here, but I really just used what I had. And you see, a lot of times in life, you have to use what's around you. What was around me? Oh, I have a phone. I have access to YouTube, and this is why I'm so thankful to YouTube, because it filled in a lot of the gaps that that I needed to be filled. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, my fathers might have not been around to help me. Would they have liked to be around? Life circumstances happen. And so you got to stop holding a grudge if your father wasn't around. Life circumstances happen. And so you got to do the best you can with what you have. And this, yes, this is something very small. Um, you know, um, but it's a metaphor for how life is. Yeah, you might have not got what you needed or what you thought you deserved, but I heard this saying is, and I can't remember if it's a saying or it's just a thought, but it's this idea that, yeah, you might have not have gotten it from where you were supposed to get it, but God sent it in other ways. He might have sent it through a YouTube video. He might have sent it through a school teacher. He might have sent it, like, you were still getting what you needed, but you just got it in different ways. Yeah, you might have not have had a loving, nurturing mother, but guess what? You got loving and nurturing teachers, or you had a loving and nurturing pastor, or you had, someone that was there for you, or you might have just had a YouTube video. Tell you what, you might have not had a father, right? You might have had a good role model. You might have not have had, but all along the way, God was setting people up on your journey and to give you examples of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you might have not have had a good father, maybe, but guess what? If you start to pay attention, you start noticing that, you know what? I might have not had a good father, but I saw images of what a good father is supposed to be like. And maybe one day, if I believe in myself, if I heal myself, maybe one day I can be a role model for my children. I can break the cycle. Yeah, you didn't have a father, but maybe you had a school teacher that acted like your dad, was on you. I never forget, I had a teacher, and I had to thank him the other day. Every time I see him, I thank him. His name was Mr. Brown. And Mr. Brown, you know, he was like my father. Like when I look back to what male masculinity is supposed to be, I think of Mr. Brown. Because why? He was my teacher, my resource, uh I think it was my resource English teacher in People's Elementary School here in Texas. And what was so interesting and powerful is that his father didn't stick around. But yet here I am, making a YouTube video about his example. Years later, when I would run into him, I said, "Mr. Brown, how was your father?" He said, "Gabriel, my father wasn't around." And I just, when he said that, and I hope I'm not putting your story out there, Mr. Brown. You know I love you if you see this video. So yeah, you might have not had what you needed, but God sent it in different ways. And you know, I'm gonna tell you something about me. I learned by observing, right? If I see you do certain things, I'll pick it up naturally, right? Because I've had to. And so, I just feel like you have to learn to release those people from those burdens. Because guess what? One day you're gonna be a father and you're gonna wish that your child had grace on you, because you start to realize that, oh, I'm not perfect either. And so, I'm thankful for Mr. Brown. He was up close an example of what a man should be, right? Not because he was perfect, but because he was strong. He was there. I'm thankful to all those teachers, starting at People's Elementary, starting at Harker Heights Elementary School, starting at Colleen High School, starting at, Rancier Middle School, that, they still gave me what I needed. And my job now is to go forth and be an example to others, to be a blessing to others. And that's just the reality, my friends. That's the reality. And you know, and I'm gonna leave you with some practical tools and advice before I leave, okay? If you're in a marriage, right? And mind you, I've never been married, don't even have a girlfriend right now. I'm just gonna put it out there. But if you feel like this resonates with you, this lands, just take it, right? From me to you. But, let's say you're in a marriage and you don't know, you never seen a marriage model, a healthy marriage model correctly. Well, dude, what are you gonna do? My practical recommendation is start seeking advice from those healthy male role models, right? And let me tell you something, what works for someone doesn't necessarily work for the others. And so there's a lot of ways to do things. You just have to find whatever your way is. And, read books on how to be a good husband and father. Go to conferences, go to family conferences. How do I become a better father, a better husband for my wife and children? How do I build that legacy? Stop beating yourself up. You know, um, Another thing you could do is, you know, just really connect. And I'm gonna see about leaving in the description some resources for you guys that you guys could check out. Um, you know, and you know what? This pops into my head, but look at all the role models, right? Like Denzel Washington. He's just the one that comes to me first, but there's Barack Obama. You could like him or hate him, whatever. But these are all men that I think Denzel Washington had his father, but I can't remember. But I'm not 100% sure. But look at Barack Obama, absent father, rises to be, an American president. And, but there's many examples of this throughout history of men that didn't have, great fathers or great mothers. And so I just want to encourage you guys, to, go forth, you know, read books. I love to read books. Go to conferences. If your church is having a men's retreat, go, and but I think the biggest one for me is go to conferences. Look up family conferences or male conferences and start your healing journey, my friends. And so thank you guys so much for watching this video. If any of this resonated with you, I would love to know if you let me know in the comments, if you've gone through anything of this, or, you felt like, yeah, Gabriel, I know exactly what you're talking about, or I've been through that, or, let me know what your experiences have been. I want this to be a healing place, right? This is our corner, you know? There's a whole lot of corners, a whole lot of space in this vast universe, but this is our corner, me and you right here talking, so yeah, that's what it is. So let me know if any of this resonated with you. If you're in a moment where you say, Gabriel, I could really use some help, I need someone to kind of help me be in that moment of transition in my life, or I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but I do offer one-on-one coaching. If you feel like you are being called to this healing type work, I offer that coaching program. It's not, for people that need therapy. This is really designed to give you clarity and bring you back to who you always were. And so, thank you guys so much for watching. Also, I also have my Buy Me a Coffee. If you feel like you're not just ready for coaching just yet, I have the Buy Me a Coffee. I am. By the time you watch this video, it's probably gonna be built out. I'm gonna have some exclusive content on there. I share books that really helped me. I share advice, you know. And if you just say, you know what, Gabriel, I like what you're talking about. We need more voices like that in the world. I just want to support you. There's ways to support my work right there. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching this video, for taking your time. And I want you to know before you leave, I love you. I'm rooting for you. And that's what I have to give you, my friends. I hope you guys have a great day. Let me know in the comments. See you guys later. Seize the day.